Hello everybody, so today we are making a bow out of a PVC pipe. Now the PVC pipe that I'm using here is already pre-cut. It's not terribly long, and that's because I was actually using it as something else previously, but I figure it's long enough for a proof of concept. So most attempts that I've seen at making a PVC bow use a heat gun, but I always thought that was kind of, lame for those people who don't have a heat gun, because not everybody has a heat gun, and you can't always do that. So I figured I would try using a stove, because why not? But before we start heating it up to shape it into a bow shape, we are going to just really quickly measure the length. It's at 40 inches. So 20 inches is going to be the middle point. So you're going to want to mark that. 20 inches. So you mark the middle point, and then I would just, grab the middle point with your hand and kind of mark where you then want the handle to be. I would then check and make sure that these are relatively equidistant from the middle bit there. And we're going to move this mark up just a little bit. It doesn't have to be absolutely perfect, but the more balanced the middle bit is, the better off it's going to be in the long run. So let's go ahead and warm this up. So you'll note that this is starting to splay out a little bit, and it's starting to bend a little bit. That means it's starting to get warm enough. At this point, you don't want to grab it because it's going to be really quite hot. So, I'm just trying to make sure that it's all warmed up, because if you go to flatten it and there's a bit that's not warmed up, then you can have issues. So at this point, it's soft enough that you can kind of just it feels kind of really rubbery. So I think we're actually going to take it over here to the table, and I don't have a vise, so we're just going to use two really big books. And I'm going to go ahead and lay the towel down in there just so that I don't get the books too hot. Flip that over. Make sure that there's no creases on there. And then we're just gonna try and smash that down a bit, and we'll just hold it here until it cools a little bit. So you want this bit here as flat as you can get it. At least that's my understanding. So this bit is cool, this bit still is a little warm, so I think we're going to set that back down for a little while. And then, after it's been cooling for a while, and take it back out, and that looking pretty good. It is curved a little bit. The reason why it's curved is because I was holding up on the end here, so when I had it down in, I made sure this was coming up, this bit here was coming up. And that was just so that there's a slight curve. The reason why I want a slight curve is I'm actually doing this as a recurve bow, so it's going to curve slightly this way, and then the actual bow bit is going to be straight here, and the string will come this way. You'll see. And now, back over to the stove. It's so interesting how it goes from being really pretty rigid to wobble, 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 wobble in just a couple seconds. It's fantastic. So we're going to take this back over and put it under the books. So what's going on here is there's a bit right here that didn't get quite warm enough, and so it's bulging slightly, and so the books weren't staying flat. So I'm just trying to hold it with my hands. I don't know if this is a good idea or not, but we're just gonna try it this way. So I get the feeling this thin bit right here is kind of what we wanted this bit here to look like as well. So probably gonna have to reheat that, but so far it's actually not looking too bad. So we're just gonna, you know, keep going. This is probably gonna be, so we've done one section, another section. This is probably gonna be our last section before we reach our mark here. And so we're just gonna try and just leave that the way it is as a handle. That's hot, that's hot. We're gonna have to go back to the book. That's just too hot. And there we are. So this is the first side. And like I said, I was just using the burner because I wanted to prove that you could do it without a heat gun. I did get this bit a little too hot. That's why it's brown there. I hit the burner right there. Don't do that. It's a bad idea. And it's a little wonky. I don't know if you can see, but it's curved slightly. So definitely could do a better job. But for a first attempt, I feel like it's not bad. So I do still have to do this side. But I think I'm going to try and use the heat gun and just see what the difference is. Alright, so here we are outside. And I am actually going to try and do the whole length all at once with the heat gun. So we'll see how this goes. Alright, let's try and get this going well. So we're going to open the vise up just a little bit. We're going to slide this forward. Okay, change in plans. The vise was taking too long to try and implement. It cooled down too much and it wasn't really working. So what we're going to do is we're just going to warm it up sitting flat on this 2x4 here. Then we'll take the other 2x4 and just like stand on it or something. So here it is. Pretty straight, pretty well done. It didn't get it quite all the way down to my mark, but that's okay. I'm actually really quite happy with how that turned out. So the biggest difference with the heat gun versus the stove is you can do it all at once, which was going to be hard to do with the stove. Also, the heat gun actually doesn't get it as warm, which means that you have a little bit, it's actually a little bit harder to work it, but when you get it and then you let go, like it cools down a lot faster, so you can see whether or not you got it right substantially quicker. So all I've got left to do now is to just put a little bit of a curve here at the end, and then we'll get ready to string it. And there we are. We got an angle there to match that angle there. I think we are ready to look for some string. Alright, so I've just got here some white nylon string. You can really use anything that's non-stretchy. Some people swear by paracord, some people swear at paracord. You know, it's all good stuff. What I like to do is I like to go about 2 inches either end of the length of my bow, because I'm going to be tying solid loops in the ends, so it's going to get shorter, and that will then hold the bow into a curve. Once you have the proper length, just go ahead and cut it, drop your scissors on the floor. That's a requirement. And make sure to fuse the ends. Otherwise, you'll get fraying everywhere. And fraying is probably a bad idea. We're going to go ahead and make a loop, probably, I don't know, about that big. And then just tie a standard bowline hitch in the end there. And pull that tight. And then we're going to do the same thing to the other end. And there we've got a string. Now, if you're going to be using this for longer than just a couple uses, you're going to want to use a better knot for the ends, like some sort of loop splice or something like that. But since we're just doing a couple uses, and this is going to be a fairly low-powered bow, bowline should be just fine. Next, you're going to want to put some notches in the sides here. We're just going to use a little hacksaw, and they don't have to be very big notches. You just need them to be sufficient that the loop will slide in and not slide out. And there we have notches. So then to thread, what we're going to do is, or not thread, string the bow. We're going to just take one of the loops, make sure it fits snugly into the notches, flip the bow over, catch it between the legs, and then you want to make sure that it's seated very well in those notches, because if it's not seated well, you'll have it pop off, and then you've got a little bow. And so now, to see if we can't hit the snow pile from here with the bow. No, I kind of missed. That actually works really well. And so that's how to make a bow out of a PVC pipe. Now, I want to mention this spot where I burned ended up being slightly a weak spot. That's why the curvature is so wonky on that. Also, this isn't a very powerful bow, but it'd be a great bow for like practicing, getting, into learning some of the basic stuff of archery. It'll be good for playing around, that sort of thing. Also, you may have noticed I don't have a van brace, but you want some sort of protection on your arm so that the string doesn't kill you, and you want some protection on your hands so the arrow doesn't kill you. Otherwise, I just want to say thank you all for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.